Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Brownsville Beyond, Facing the Realities of Underserved Communities During COVID-19 webinar. Buenos días a todos, bienvenidos. Thank you for joining us this beautiful morning. It appears that we're going to get a little more rain today, so we're always happy for some extra rain. My name is Esme Villarreal, and I am the very proud president and CEO for your local Brownsville Chamber of Commerce. Before we begin today's program, please know that we are recording today's webinar, and you will be receiving the link soon after we adjourn today's program, also available through Facebook Live. We invite you to continue to, of course, share this great information as we begin our program. Share with your colleagues, share with your fans. We want everyone to know the great things our community partners are doing here locally and the impact of course, their programs. We invite everyone also to send us questions. We love to hear of course, our audience today, and you can use the chat through Zoom, or you can, of course, utilize the Facebook chat. So I am very happy, and I'm always very honored to speak to our great leadership here locally. And, you know, before we started today's webinar, I was having a conversation with our guest speakers today, and I want to just highlight what we were speaking about. You know, it's something that we take very seriously here at our chamber. We are extremely proud of all the work that is being done. You know, and at times we get emotional because we see how coming together makes a difference, how, you know, stronger and, you know, in unity, we see change, and change that it's everlasting change. Change that, you know, impacts a family that's fighting hunger, you know, impacts those that unfortunately were furloughed, those that unfortunately are having issues with, you know, paying their rent or utilities. And there are no boundaries, there are no walls, there are no differences when it comes down to our community. We are very proud of everything that we see that our, you know, local community partners, their leadership are doing. And, you know, and it's a great message today as we see everything that's happening through our nation. You know, we want to make sure that we also tell the great stories and the good stories of what's happening. And that's the purpose of today's objective. I mean, that's the objective of today's conversation. We want everyone to know the great things that our friends are doing through our community. And today we have the great honor of speaking with several community partners that continue to work diligently every single day, directly and indirectly, for the city of Brownsville, and in some cases have adapted their program of work to meet the needs of residents that have been impacted due to COVID-19. We are extremely proud, once again, of the continuous efforts and wonderful work our community partners do every single day to make our community a better and stronger one. I'm always excited to talk to these great people because they always say, surround yourself with people that know more than you. So, you know, today I feel that, you know, that's exactly what's happening. I'm always looking forward to hearing from this leadership. I'm always, you know, in support of, you know, what they're doing. But most importantly, you know, I do love to all of, you know, everyone who's present today. I truly follow your work, and you're great mentors. And what you do impacts, of course, not just our community, but those that follow you. So thank you. So we have today our great friend, lifetime member of the chamber, former chairwoman of the board, amazing, you know, human being, Traci Wickett, who is our, you know, who's the president and CEO at United Way of Southern Cameron County. We also have a fierce leader in our city, Carla Mancha. She's the chief executive officer for Housing Authority of the city of Brownsville. Our beautiful soul and wonderful human being, Veronica Rosenbaum. She's the executive director of the Brownsville Wellness Coalition, and our great friend, Hugo Zurita. He's the executive director of Good Neighbor Center House. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, for those that don't know, before we started, we were also trying to fix her hair, and I always say the same thing, I don't know where I'm looking at. So today we're using an iPad here in the office, so I'm sorry if I'm not looking directly at the camera, but I'm trying my best. So, how about we start today? Thank you. So, thank you. You guys look very, very pretty, and of course, Hugo, very handsome this morning. So, ladies and gentlemen, how about we just start today's conversation? And, our whole focus is just to have a real conversation to let everyone who's watching us and, of course, has joined us really know what's happening, and if you can provide an update regarding your respective organization and how you have been impacted by COVID-19. And if it's fine with everyone, we'll just go exactly the same format as I introduced you. Traci, we can go ahead and start with you.
Sure. Thanks so much, Esme. We took about a week to just sit back and try to figure out, what do we need to do? What's our sweet spot? What's the spot where we can have the greatest impact on what's happening in our community? And to do that, we had to figure out a couple of things. Not only what was the greatest need, but did we have the capacity to respond to it? And thank God that we were already in relationship with so many people and organizations who are doing great work in the community. All of us are and love each other, and we work together all the time. So it was easy to pick up the phone and ask what's going on. And the most shocking thing that I heard was in talking to Hugo. And every time I would speak with him, he would say, we had twice as many people coming for meals or for pantry bags as we had just a few days ago. And so it became clear in talking to Hugo and to Veronica and to other stakeholders in the community that food was a huge issue. And so luckily at the same time, I got to watch a webinar about a really innovative process that was going on in Dallas, where furloughed food service workers, so cooks and servers and bus people who are used to hustling for a living, they had lost their jobs. At the same time, institutions that provided like food banks and soup kitchens and food pantries had lost all their volunteers because people were quarantining from COVID. And so this initiative called Get Shift Done offered to pay these furloughed workers to make up for the work that the volunteers weren't doing anymore at these organizations. So we kind of gave it a trial run at Good Neighbor by hiring people to go over and help meet the need at Good Neighbor. And then from there, it just exploded. And I could go on forever, so I'll stop and let my colleagues chime in.
Vero?
Oh, my turn. Okay. So as Traci said, she had a week to think about how they were going to put these efforts into place. Unfortunately for us, it was like, okay, what are we going to do? How is this going to happen? Because we have produce in the ground, we have produce on tables, we have produce on baskets, and all of our classes are canceled. So we immediately thought, and it's not like you can get cilantro or tomatoes and put them back in the ground, right? So what is going to happen to our vendors and all of this produce and all of this food? So luckily my colleagues and my community partners I always say that the success of Brownsville Wellness Coalition is definitely by community partners, because there's no way that this organization has been thriving only through community partnerships. And I immediately picked up phones and started talking to people. Brownsville Wellness Coalition is in the process of capacity building. So what that means is like, oh, okay, we're working towards capacity building, but then COVID hit, and I'm like, I need bodies. I need humans to help me put all of this in place, right? So I immediately called Traci, called Hugo, called Carla, and make sure that, and the city of Brownsville and other community partners, and how can we help move this forward? So what we did, we have a 16-foot trailer, which is our Fresco mobile market. And because the farmer's market closed from one week to the other, and we needed to sell these produce, we were trying, I had to think quick of how we were going to make this produce get to the right hands and to people that were in need. Usually all of this produce and everything that we harvest from these community gardens and the urban farms that are part of our programs are usually used in our in our cooking classes in La Cocina Alegre. So we created something. There's something called CSA, it's Community Shared Agriculture. People didn't understand. I feel like people were still having a hard time understanding what that meant. So I was like, okay, think, Vero, think quickly. What can you do, right? So I thought, I was at HEB and we were like bundles. You know, they have these bundle combos that you buy, you know, cheese and you get a taco tostada or ground beef or something. And I was like, that's it. We're going to do BWC bundle bags, right? And so it's like a surprise box, a surprise bag. So I talked to vendors, I talked to farmers, the stuff that we had in our community gardens, produce that we had in our urban farms, and we just generated this $10 bundle bag. And it started from there. And then we started learning a lot of things. It was been incredible. I always feel, you know, it was a quick turnaround, but at the same time, it was a learning process. And we've learned so many things. And yeah, and I'm going to stop there because I'm sure we're going to talk more about it, but that's quickly what BWC had to do. And by talking to our community partners and being able to leverage those resources and the capacity, we've been able to launch this food distribution.
And then I'm sorry if I keep on smiling, but I just, you know, get excited hearing Vero talk, and of course Traci, and now Carla.
So yes, good morning, Esme. Good morning, and thank you for your leadership, and also thank you to your team at the Chamber and to your board for supporting you and your administration in providing these webinars to our community. So good morning to everybody out there, and thank you for viewing this webinar this morning. And I also like to recognize my Housing Authority Board of Commissioners with Chairman Sampaio and the rest of the board for their support. So the question is, what did we do once this started? So the Housing Authority, just so that everybody knows, the Housing Authority of the City of Brownsville is the largest housing authority south of San Antonio. And we serve over 3,800 families, which make up not only with the Section 8 program, which is also known as the Housing Choice Voucher Program, but also our public housing program and our tax credit programs. And we have 20 properties, 20 different communities here in Brownsville. Now, approximately 88% of our families live under the poverty line. And it's very important for me to mention that because we know that families who live in poverty already have challenges. So when issues like a pandemic, like COVID hits, it hits them even harder. But one of the things that I have learned and that I have seen and I have witnessed while I've been here and while I've been now part of this beautiful community of Brownsville is that the families are resilient. And that's something that we mentioned prior to the webinar starting. The families are resilient and they will get through this. But of course, we need to provide and we need to continue providing supportive services. And one of the things that I see and I have witnessed here in Brownsville, because for as you know, I'm not originally from Brownsville, but one of the things that I see here is how the people come together, how the agencies come together and unify in good times and in challenging times. And everybody that is on this webinar, we have had wonderful partnerships prior to COVID, during COVID, and we will continue having partnerships after COVID. So what has the Housing Authority done? So the Housing Authority, obviously, we needed to reassess and evaluate our operations to see how we will continue to provide those services to our families. Not only that of supportive services, which touches on what we have partnered with these amazing agencies here today with regards to food and access to healthy food, but also other support services like education, reading, even mental health, how can we connect? How can we continue connecting with the families during this time? So we had to change the way we were delivering our services. So now we have moved into more virtual delivery of services. And now as we are reopening, taking the precautions, also making more home. In addition, the Housing Authority to having a supportive services team, we also have a client services team. Now I mentioned the number of serving over 3,800 families. So we are responsible, and we've continued the work, regardless of COVID, we've continued the work of providing the case management that our families need in order to assure that we continue to provide them the housing that they need, and any changes to their file with regards to rent calculation because of a change in rent due to loss of job or a decrease in hours. So we still provide those services. And then the other team that we have with the housing facilities team is with the Housing Authority is the housing facilities team. So we still have our maintenance personnel, we still have our project managers showing up to work every day because we need to continue providing that service to those households if they need any assistance in their units. So I guess, Esme, what I'm saying here is that the Housing Authority, even though it may have closed the doors to the public, we still are providing services every single day. Our HACB team has showed up to work every single day. We evaluated who could work from home, and really the only ones that could work from home are your executive team, but the executive team chose to come to work every day because our team members are here. So we are considered an essential business. And in addition to looking at how we can help our families, we've also looked at how can we help small businesses. And some of you, like Vero, we had a employee appreciation week for our team, and we purchased groceries from Vero and her farmers. We ordered food from small business restaurant owners to try again to give them help and to support them. So again, I want to thank you, Esme. I know we're going to touch on a different specific item, so I'll stop there. But thank you again for inviting HACB to be part of this platform.
Thank you, Carla. We're always so happy to hear from you, and it's just basically it really is an update and a highlight of the continuous work that you guys do every single day. Though at times, we just either, not that we take it for granted, but we're so carried away with our daily routines that we know the great work that's being done. But today we want to truly highlight and focus on what you and your teams do. And with that said, now I invite Hugo to, provide an update and, of course, tell us all about how, Good Neighbor Settlement House is really dealing with this pandemic and how, you've actually changed your program of work as well.
Good morning. Sorry, I was taking some water. Thank you so much for having me. So yes, kind of what just kind of going what Traci said earlier. I want to thank Traci and her team for contacting me, being in constant contact with me regarding what's going on. But we are the only food pantry in downtown area. So when the pandemic started, we started seeing a lot more families. We serve roughly anywhere from 700 to 750 families, individual families every month. We started seeing that our numbers increased from 200 to 300 families a day. Our lines for our food pantry were around the block. And something I'm really proud of is that our food pantry manager, when he was creating the bags, all the items in our bags, he were actually able to make a meal out of that. So we're giving out fresh bread, milk, egg, meat to make sure that the families were able to have some meals. We opened it up to the public. So at that point, when the pandemic started, we weren't really asking for any documentations. The only thing we were asking is for you to be from Brownsville area. So we were able to provide the month of April, we were about to do 3,500 bags, food pantry bags. And as well we are the only soup kitchen in Brownsville. So we had to change our operations to go meals. So what that meant is we were distributing meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So same thing, our numbers increased dramatically. We were seeing a lot more families, a lot more kids coming to get some of our meals.
And you know what, and that brings me back to, for those that don't know, this was many, many years ago. I used to serve, as part of the board for Good Neighbor Settlement House, and I'm never going to forget, because I was invited by my dear friend Tony Rodriguez to join, and it was my first time there to serve, right? So they thought I was there to do community hours, but they actually put me in your pantry room. So I did learn there's hundreds of thousands of types of beans. So I was actually, yes, and that's a story that I love about Good Neighbor Settlement House. I honestly didn't know there were so many different types of beans. So I spent hours putting everything together. And, when you serve and you volunteer, that's what you do. You just do things and just be part of the whole, help. And soon I learned, when they were calling me, that I was in the wrong room doing the wrong thing. But I was very happy to learn and, and be part of, the people that were there volunteering as well. But I do have, of course, a very fond appreciation for all the organizations. But, I remember my day serving at Good Neighbor Settlement House, and they were very fun, very, very fun, and all, of course, for a great cause. And this leads me to the next question. And, perhaps not everyone wants to answer. It's up to, whomever wants to be the brave one first. But what do we need to know to support our community right now? What is it that your respective organization would like to ask our following, and of course our audience and our whole community? What is the actual call to action that will lead us to be better prepared perhaps for a future pandemic, and how we can actually contribute to your organizations to continue to help and assist your programs?
I'll jump in on that, Esme, because I think it's such a terrible paradox that at the time of greatest need, the time when the most people need services from our organizations, is the exact same time when we have the fewest resources. There are fewer people working, many people experiencing hard times, and so charity suffers because people don't have income to donate to charity. So one thing that we did right away was to launch the United Against Hunger campaign, where 100% of the gifts that were donated would go to meeting the needs of hungry people in our community through Brownsville Wellness Coalition, through Good Neighbor Settlement House, through Ozanam Center's food pantry that we got expanded. We're distributing 1,600 bags of food every single Friday in mass food distributions. And we also wrote a grant to the Legacy Foundation and gave them an opportunity to help with this great need. And I'm thrilled to say that they chipped in with over $300,000 for a 2-month period in food and in assistance to help us hire these furloughed restaurant workers, because it's not enough to just have the food. You have to have a method for getting it to people. So more food to more people more quickly and more efficiently is our goal. And Legacy has helped us with that. That's a 2-month grant that covers May and June. We actually started the distributions, the mass food distributions, and the grants to the Wellness Coalition and Good Neighbor back in April. So we've got the future to think about. We don't think this pandemic and its economic pandemic that accompanies it is going to just vanish at the end of June. And so those of us who do have a job, who have continued to get a paycheck, please put it in your hearts to help those who no longer have that. People who have never experienced food insecurity before are experiencing it now, and you have an opportunity to help. So if you're not doing well, get in touch with us and let us find help. But if you're wondering with those who are not.
Yes, and on adding to Traci's, I think it's very important right now to cultivate a purpose in our community. It's a purpose. It's a purpose to feed people with need, right? We worked really quickly to move forward on this. Am I good as me, or should I stop? Did I lose you? Are we good?
There you are.
Okay. So I was saying it's important to cultivate a purpose in our community right now to make a change, right? So I think coming together as a team has definitely been an asset to our community. We've been able to leverage those resources. We've been able to leverage our capacity, and most important, our sanity, right? Because we were all worried in the beginning of how this was going to play out. We did not have anything in place. We had to be very creative and come up with a quick solution to be able to distribute 1,600 bags of non-perishable foods. In addition to the non-perishable foods, we also included a bag of produce, these BWC bundle bags. So not only are the families receiving these non-perishable items, they're also receiving a produce bag. Whatever is available, whatever is grown here locally, whatever we've been able to provide those BWC bundle bags. So not only are they going to get a can, I don't know, maybe peas or green beans, they can also receive something fresh to combine that, right? So we've been able to do that. So cultivating a purpose in our community to be able to put something in action is a good way how people can think. We've had so many calls of people wanting to volunteer. Unfortunately, in the beginning, it was really hard to accept any additional help to people to come volunteer, just because of all the rules and regulations of how big our group was supposed to be. So, and to making sure that all the precautions were made. So we've had a great response from our community. I've seen people donate to United Against Hunger. Usually, you know, donations come in very slow. We've been very, very fortunate to be receiving these donations to continue these efforts. And encouraging others to do the same, right? We need to encourage people that this is another way that they can participate, by encouraging our community to be able to provide these meals. Before, like Hugo said, his numbers tripled, our numbers tripled too, in a sense of a week. But because everyone was home, right? Usually a non-perishable bag or once a month bag would be okay because people would go off to work or to school. But in the beginning, everyone was home. We were all eating every 30, 45 minutes. So there was a need for a bigger group of people that we were targeting, a target audience that we were doing that. So I think if we wanted to encourage anyone in our community, is to continue cultivating your purpose, right? To be able to provide and to be able to be an asset to our community. This morning, just to give you a perspective of what that looks like, this morning we did our food distribution at Proyecto Juan Diego, and we're talking about 300 bags. We set up at 7 a.m. and distribution starts at 8 a.m. Guys, we were done in 22 minutes. 300 bags. Actually 600 bags, because 300 of non-perishable and 300 of produce bag. 22 minutes. Sister Phyllis was like blown away, right? We had already done it there and it seemed like it moved quickly, but this time my staff was calling me and was like, Ms. Rosenbaum, we're done. I was like, you're done setting up? No, we're done distributing, because people were lined up. And at the distributions, at the mass distributions, I always ask 1 or 2 cars in the beginning, what time did you line up? And they'll tell me 5 a.m., 5:30, 6 o'clock. So that even this past Friday at the event center, we had people lining up since 5 a.m. So the need is still there. And yeah, it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling serving this community.
Thank you, Vero, and it's a great feeling to know that we continue to help those that are most in need right now, and that, as we said earlier, that everyone's doing their part and everyone's participating in multiple ways to be able to, to have the same vision, which is the betterment of our community through, of course, continuous efforts and collaborations, and being impactful with our work on a daily basis, and making sure that we are there to support those that, like I said, most in need and unfortunately are going through the toughest times of all.
Mm-hmm.
Carla?
Yeah, so first I'd like to say that our families are very grateful for the resources, everything that they've been given during this time. And I'm very appreciative, and I'm very blessed to have partners again like yourselves. So we continue to provide, like I said, the services. Our kids are receiving meals every day through a partnership with Bright Nutrition. And we continue to explore new ways on how we can bring services to our families. But when you ask the question of, and let me go back to the question, you said, what do we need to do to support our community right now? Well, I'm going to go back and echo what Traci stated. This pandemic it's not going to end in June or July. And this is, in essence, what we're moving into, like our new normal, right? So what we need more of right now is we need to support nonprofits like United Way, like Brownsville Wellness Coalition, like Good Neighbor Settlement. Unlike the Housing Authority, which we receive funding through HUD, right? And then we also have 3 nonprofits that generate funding. These organizations here, they rely on the charity, right, of donations of the community of different foundations. So I think what the community needs more right now is to really support organizations like these, to assure that our community and our families will be provided the services that they're getting now, that they will continue getting those services 3, 4, 6 months from now, because all indication is that we will continue to be in this new normal per se, and families are still going to need this support. So that would be what I think is most is like what Veronica said, looking at what your purpose is. Okay, so let's all come together and really build a stronger Brownsville.
And I think that's a message across. And Hugo, would you like to share your insight in regards of how our community can continue to support, of course, your organization and all those present today?
Yeah, no, I want to kind of say the same thing. I want to thank all our donors, especially Traci and United Way of San Carmen County, for stepping up and continue to support us. Our nonprofit like Good Neighbor, Brownsville Coalition. We can't do it without the support of the community. And I'm really proud how Brownsville stepped up and assisted us through this pandemic. One of the things is the way that we fund our dinner program is La Posada. A lot of our volunteers that come and serve La Posada still stepped up during the pandemic. They were not able to cook the meals, they purchased the meals, or they sent us funds to be able to purchase the meals. So, we were able to still continue to serve our community throughout the support of all the donors that we had. Same thing, we got a lot of in-kind donations. So you saw our street outreach team out there in Brownsville serving the homeless population, the ones that were not able to come to Good Neighbor, providing with hygiene kits, hand sanitizer, wipes, all necessary items they needed. So I was really proud of how Brownsville came along and stepped up and supported each other. Right now, I know leadership of Brownsville is having a fundraiser for both Good Neighbor and Brownsville Coalition with the fundraisers of shirts, beautiful, great shirts that they have. So please continue to support, go into their Facebook page, and please order your shirts. All those proceeds will go both to Good Neighbor and the Brownsville Coalition.
Thank you. And that's a great reminder that, even though we don't have all of our community partners present in today's conversation, as you mentioned, Leadership Brownsville is doing a wonderful cause and doing a wonderful fundraiser. So we highly encourage everyone to get your t-shirts. I think they're $20. Lacey, I hope you don't kill me if that's the right price, but it is $20. That's, I think, what I read. And they are available and they're there for a great cause. So, I myself make a pledge to purchase one this week and make sure that I wear it with a lot of pride on Friday. And, and I encourage everyone who's watching this right now to do so, because again, the proceeds of this purchase is going to impact our organization. So we can do so much by doing just, taking small steps. And people at times don't recognize that whether being $1, $5, or $20, every dollar counts, and every dollar does make a huge impact in our community. And with that said, I think that it's important to highlight that now is not the time to wait and see if our mission can thrive in our community. I think now is a time to, plan for the future, to see how, and again, it is a learning process for all of us, because we've all have learned to adapt and to adjust. And I think that's what we all nonprofits do very well. We adapt and we adjust and we move forward. But with that said, we also need to make sure that we plan, that we plan. Oh, Vero, yes, I heard, yes, that we planned. Yes, go ahead.
I think we thrive on pandemics right now, right? We thrive on crisis. We thrive on the last minute things. I think being a nonprofit, you get so used to that way of life and work and job that it's a great process. I think we were ready. We were ready for this. We had been trained, right? So I think now we're seeing the efforts that our training in the past to be able to put into place. So yeah, I agree with you. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, no. This is really just a very natural conversation. So everyone, of course, can chime in and speak about, your thoughts. And, as I was saying, this is where we see our mission truly thrive. And of course, with the support of our community. And we all know that no corner of our society has been left untouched by the pandemic. And, and most importantly, including our nonprofit sector. So that leads me to my third question. In the future, now knowing what we're learning, right, through this pandemic, what needs to be done to mitigate the negative impact to our community? How can we better prepare?
I'd like to, if I can go ahead and make a statement on that, or answer that question. One of the things that we have seen here with the Housing Authority and our families is when the children had to stay at home, everyone has to be at home. The parents had difficulty in helping the kids with their homework. So one of the biggest challenges that came from this whole situation is really seeing how the family who is not connected to the internet, that digital divide, is it can really hurt a child, right? If they are supposed to be turning in homework on time or by certain deadlines. So I think that one of the things that we're working on is bridging the digital divide. We are part of the Connect Home Nation community. We're one of PHAs. I think now there's about maybe 40 or so PHAs nationwide that are Connect Home Nation community. And so the purpose is to connect every single household to the internet. And when this pandemic, now that this pandemic has happened, and we're seeing not only the challenges of getting the food and healthy access to healthy foods to family, but also the whole challenge in the education and the learning and getting what they need to get done at home for their classes not being met because they don't have that internet connection, or they don't have that computer or their tablet. So we will be working and putting together a plan on how to reinforce and revisit the strategy and reinforce the measures of how we're going to provide that service to our families. So that's one of the things that, aside from food, is the just not being able to be connected to other resources because they don't have that internet connection.
No, and it's great that you mentioned that, Carla, because we do know, and one thing I think that we all, of course, think alike, and we know that's the message. We don't want any child to be left behind. And just because simply of a lack of, having access to the internet and not being able to, again, like you said, finish their homework, or of course the families, we're still considered the poorest city in the nation. And with that said, that comes with digital divide, that comes with lack of so many different things. But, through the different programs, through your initiatives, and I know United Way is very supportive and has multiple programs regarding education. Traci, is there anything that you would want to add in addition to what Carla just mentioned of the importance of bridging that digital divide, and then of course any initiative that you guys are collaborating?
Sure, Esme, thanks. I think bridging the digital divide has to be one of our top priorities. And I think it's time for us to raise our voices and make decision makers and legislators know that this is one of the biggest problems that we face. It seems maybe at the end of the hierarchy of needs from food, but when you get down to how you lift families out of poverty, education is the way you do it. Nearly 50% of our children live below the poverty line. And if they don't get a good education, and at this point that means a great internet connection to get that education, then how are we ever going to change conditions in our community? We're not going to be able to do that by raising money. We're not going to do that there's not enough private donations in our community to change that condition. We have to advocate. We've got to shake our fists and demand what we need so that our children get an education. And just one more note about what I think we need to thrive going forward is our nonprofits need superior is going to face incredibly tough times in not just the year ahead, but in the years ahead. And I think that nonprofit executives need to become incredibly savvy about financial management, about utilizing reserves, about how we can squeeze the most from every penny, which I know we're already really good at, but we're going to have to get a million times better at that. So that's it for me.
Thank you. And as I was preparing for today's webinar, I was doing some research and I read about a study conducted by Charities Aid Foundation, and it stated that 96.5% of nonprofits have reported negative impact. And with that said, it stated that about 68% encountered a drop in contributions, which goes back to what you just mentioned, Traci. And in addition, about 63% blamed the travel restrictions and of course the disruption in their workplace with their clients, and that of course led to a disruption in actual donations and donors not being able to continue to donate, perhaps not at the same caliber. And then most importantly, a very important factor for the sustainability of every organization is the struggle with staffing. So about 50% of nonprofits have had have struggled with staffing. The consensus in today's conversation has led me to believe that, we have been very fortunate here through our nonprofits that we haven't encountered, that situation in which, like Carla mentioned, your executive team was able to come to work simply because of the ability of having your employees be there present. And I know, past conversations with Traci, working constantly all the time and in communication with the team. And of course, we always see them, everywhere as, of course, Veronica and of course, Hugo. I think overall speaks how, even though these are national statistics, I think we Brownsville may be the difference in the sense that, yes, we have been impacted, and yes, we will actually suffer a long-lasting effect, not just in months to come, but years to come. But overall, I think that we're able to make the difference through the support the community can provide. So this leads me to one additional question that we have from one of our audience today, and it states as follows. She wrote, what are the unmet needs that can help move the community forward, particularly thinking of data or for information that, in this case, the UCD Health Connect can provide? And I don't know if perhaps there's one of our guest speakers that can, address that question or multiple. Once again, it is, what are the unmet needs that can help move the community forward?
Who wants to do it?
I see Vero she really is jumping out of her chair. So Vero, I think you're the lucky one here.
Okay, so I think unmet needs, and just kind of just stepping back on the previous question and adding to this one, I think going on Traci's, that we have to be the voice, right? I think our generations right now are demanding a change in our area, and being that voice to make that connection. And I think with Carla's comment about her families getting connected, once being connected to that line of communication, to be able to learn in our own community what the needs are, is going to be our way to learn to collect some of this data, be able to move forward. As a nonprofit, we do collect some data. We collect numbers, but it is very important to us. What are the needs in our community, right? How are we trying to service the community in our area? So we are working with to expand our capacity to be able to do that and to collect those numbers and that data so that we can continue learning what the needs are in our community so we could meet those needs, right? I feel like there's never a right or wrong answer on that, because if there's always, if it's not food, it's services, it's internet, it's something that we are learning. And because we're always trying to catch up, is always a way to do that. But working together and those resources, and I can't say that enough, right? I think if we do not, we need to understand what each organization is working and what we are helping each other. Hugo and I work really close together, and so does Carla, to know what those needs are in our community. So when we called Traci and said, Traci, this is what's happening, she was quick to move and figure this out for us, and then we were able to execute, right? So I think by learning what those needs are in our community and making that connection with our city is great. And I also wanted to add that people ask me when I go to, or I'm part of panels or go when I used to go to conferences and stuff, they would ask me, how do you work so well with your community partners? How do you do that to work well with the city of Brownsville, with the county, with the housing authority, with other nonprofits? I said, I think we all have the same purpose. We all have the same passion driven in us to serve our community. And we talk to each other and say what's going on and what we need, right? We're very comfortable as a family. I feel like if you're in a family, oh, okay, I struggle with this. Can you help me with this? And so I think we have that confianza to be able to do that. And that has given us the great results that it's now giving us, right? Not with challenges. We do have challenges, and there's some needs that we still need to address, but I think that has been the success of it.
Thank you so much for those words, Vero. And with that in mind, we come close to the end of our presentation today. And I think overall, something that I've learned today from, of course, hearing everyone as part of our guest speakers is something that I think, we need to really highlight, and not only highlight, but as Traci mentioned, this is a time that we advocate and that we demand what we really need for our city. With that said, I think we need to continue to call to action, for funders to call to action to how do we move forward. Most importantly, we need to continue to stay true to our purpose. Staying true to our purpose is going to lead us to continue to thrive, right? And it aligns with our mission. Even though we all have individual missions for organizations, it is one vision in the sense of for the betterment of the community as we continue to come together and, of course, build a stronger community. And then also, something that Traci mentioned that I think is of most importance is that we need to continue to keep an eye on nonprofit operations and bottom lines. That's going to, be part of an important factor of the sustainability of these organizations, all of our nonprofits. We as a Chamber of Commerce, also being in the nonprofit world, it is unfortunate that we have heard of multiple chambers of commerce that have not made it through COVID-19. It is very unfortunate, and it's very difficult for us to comprehend, of how this can happen. And we, like no other organizations, are, we're always at risk too. But I think overall, with the continued support of our membership and the continued support of community partners, we will also survive this pandemic. It is important that we also continue to advocate for you and for our other community partners in moving forward and being able to be part of your success, to be part of the sustainability of the organizations. I foresee, of course, a huge success to your respective organizations, but I think the success, like you all mentioned, comes not just from of course, your respectful leadership, but also from your volunteers, from the support of our community. We cannot do it alone. We highly depend on everyone else. And, are there any additional thoughts that you would like to go ahead and stress, or any messages that you would like to stress to the audience before we adjourn today's webinar?
Esme, on our conference room wall at United Way of Southern Cameron County, we have the words that this community, I think, lives by. It's, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I am so proud to be a part of a community that chooses to go together.
Thank you, Traci.
And I also wanted to add and thank all of our board members on each and every one of our organizations. Again, they do this, they volunteer, and they have the same passion and are ignited by the purpose in our community to be able to serve and to continue to cultivate that purpose for every single one of us. So I know that each and every single one of us here has a board that is governed as part of our organizations. And I want to thank every single one of those board members, because they too also work together to understand what the needs of the community are. Just by talking and learning from one another. And I want to thank every single one of the board members from each organization. Excuse me.
And I'd like to, I guess, as we are closing up this webinar, just to remind everybody of the importance to get counted, the census. So we talk a lot about what are our needs here in this community. What will we be needing 6 months from now, a year from now? But really, we should be planning for the next 10 years, right? So to do that planning, we need the funding, and we get the funding by the numbers of the people who get counted. So very, very important to please get yourself counted, the US 2020 census. And I understand that is up, you can still submit up until October, but the sooner the better. So here at HACB, every HACB team member, board member has already submitted their US Census form. And now we're working with our 3,800 plus families. So I challenge everybody else here today to get everybody in your organization signed up. And that is something that we can do for our community moving forward.
Thank you, Carla. That's a great reminder. And you said we can't just focus on what's happening, but we need to continue to focus on the future. And the future is really we're counting literally on the actual count of the census to see how that's going to, you know, of course, impact our community, our organization. So we do appreciate the constant reminder, and again, the importance of being counted. Hugo?
I want to start out by saying, thanking the staff at Good Neighbor, the staff at Brownsville Coalition, United Way, because, you know, we're out there, they're out there, you know, feeding, distributing. So it's really important to thank the staff because the organizations will not be sustained without the staff, as well as the board of directors for each organization. Thank you as well. Our funders, our old funders, our new funders that all came together to be able to fund our organizations and fund what we're trying to serve our community. It's really important that, you know, we thank you because we couldn't do it without everyone. And it's really important for us to say thank you to all the contributions that we receive, in-kind funds. Just thank you very, very, very much from the bottom of my heart.
And thank you all for your time. We know that you're out there running the world, hustling nonstop. We see you every single day. We see your posts, we see your pictures. And again, as I started today's conversation, we thank you from the bottom of our heart. We're very proud of your work, and we understand that we're only as successful as our members are, as our community partners are. So we are here for you. We're here for your, of course, clients, for your families. You know, we want to, of course, again, you know, invite everyone to continue to support your initiatives, to continue to fund the organizations. Every single dollar counts. Every help desk count. Volunteer hours make a huge difference. You know, I think that we as a chamber and of course yourselves, we are successful thanks to our volunteers, thanks to those that show up and do the work, thanks to those that wake up at 5, 6 in the morning, like Vero said, to set up, and 22 minutes later, it's all gone, right? But that's the need of our community, and that's the passion that we all have. You know, once again, thank you for your time today. Thank you for the highlights, and we hope that this webinar serves, you know, as a bridge to educate others of what your organizations are doing, and for everyone to contact your organizations individually, of course, to be able to say, hey, I'm here for you. Hey, how can I donate, or how can I volunteer to make a difference? And that's what Brownsville is all about. Brownsville is one strong community, and only we can do it. You know, we can only do it through our efforts and coming together. So ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you. We appreciate your time, and, you know, we wish you a wonderful afternoon. Quick note, this is actually being recorded. We're going to share this at a later time. That way, anyone who missed this opportunity to hear about your highlights will be able to go ahead and watch this at a later time. And I also invite you to share this information with your board of directors. I think our board, our leadership, our governing board of directors, you know, will be very proud to hear the great work. And I know they know this every single day, but it's such an eye-opening experience when we hear it, you know, through just the raw conversation. So we will send this to all of you today, and of course we'll share with everyone that has joined us. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.